So boot flares. This is for X-Wing Pilot, A New Hope, right? This is one of those parts of the costume that are constantly overlooked. It doesn't make this huge difference, right? It's just boot flares. Well, it matters to me. I make mine out of resin. I took a 1-inch dowel, I sanded the end, cut it 4 inches long, sanded again, put it on my table saw, cut some grooves in, sanded the whole thing, sealed the whole thing, covered it in resin, and now I make resin ones. Boot flares, you need 8 of the actual flares, right? And this is so easy to just phone in. Nobody's going to notice, nobody's going to pay any attention to it. But it can make a huge difference. It can, you can just use a single olive cotton that's just a flat. You don't have to do anything weird or special with it, but I feel if we're going to do this, let's do it right. And I'm going to bring you in real close for a second. So again, it's all about texture for me. It's all about how everything plays with itself. That didn't sound right. But it's just a flat piece here that's double stitched, right? And this is just another flat piece, and I've double stitched it. If you look here, there's 2 different grains. There's the right side and the wrong side, right? And I used this piece intentionally, so this has got kind of a mesh look about it, with the flat on top and the double stitching. It looks way more complicated than it is. It's just a piece of fabric that's been folded over and folded over. And then when it's put on top with the stitching and the stitching and the stitching, it just looks more than it is. And it's an easy way to make the costume seem more real, more in-depth. Zoom you out for a second. There. Ultimately, it's just a long piece. 2 snaps. Luke had snaps on his in A New Hope. I also put on Velcro, just because I don't trust just the snaps. The other sides, same hooks we used for the belt boxes. And then the other piece of Velcro. All my boot flares are screwed in place. They hook on top of my belt, on top of my boots. They're held in pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it. Let me show you how I make them. So what I cut out is 3 pieces at 4 inches by 25 inches. I seamed 2 of them together with a 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around. And I'm going to do a double top stitch along the top. So we are dispensing with my standard super close sewing because it's uncomfortable. I want to do this quick. It's not supposed to be an in-depth how to sew tutorial. You want one of those? Go to any other video I have posted. At this point we need to decide which side is the top. I like this side better. Relatively wide Velcro. It's about 4 inches long, roughly 2 inches wide. And we just stitch it on. Just using a standard zigzag stitch, I'm just going to go all the way around. What we got here is I folded it over at 1/2 inch and then again a 1/2 inch. And I'm going to stitch right along this edge and then right along this edge. That's it. So again, we're taking the wrong side to the wrong side, and we're going to stitch a zigzag across here. We're going to flip it, go the other way. I'm just going to sew this right along the edge, just to fold it over. And now I'm going to put a 1/2 inch seam in from the folded edge. And that's where our boot flare is going to start. What we got here is I flipped this part over and I put a mark every inch. And on this one, I went 2 inches, then 1 inch, then 2 inch, then 1 inch, then 2 inch, then 1 inch, all the way down. We're going to fold these over, pin them, so that the 1 inch and 1 inch line up. That's where our flare goes. And leave the last one open like this because it's going to get folded under and then stitched just like this side. So the first thing we're going to do, I tend to start closer to the middle, back up, and then go over and then back, and then I'll jump over to this one, forward and back, forward, jump over to this one, and I just keep going till I'm done. It's usually pretty quick. I put the needles in the right way. Before we get too far, fits perfect. Just going to fold it in half and stitch right along the top, or right along the edge. Okay, now we just snip off all these little extra pieces. All I did was fold this over 1/2 inch and fold it again and run a stitch just along the edge here. Take the other part of the Velcro just like the first side, and just zigzag stitch it in place. Technically, we could be done, but we're not. Clips. Just get screwed in. I put a screw in every single one, because the last thing I want to do is have to cast another stupid thing because I wasn't paying attention. Should have pre-drilled, but I didn't. That's fine. I tend to use 3 clips. Like so. If you want to put a snap on, you can put snaps on it. I am out of snaps, so I'm not putting them on this one. But this gives us a decent amount of adjustability. If you have smaller boots, make these smaller. If you have larger boots. But that's it. You can put a second screw in if you want. I'm not gonna. And just put one in the middle. Make sure you line everything up so the top is where you want it to be. Really, again? That's all there is to it. Rinse and repeat. I don't know why I enjoy making boot flares so much. I do. It's probably my favorite part of the X-Wing costume. I think it's just because it's so underutilized. Like I said, it's my absolute favorite part of the costume. I don't know why. I don't know why. It's just... it adds that little bit that makes it closer to realism for me. These are clear because I have a Festival of Lights parade and I want to have my boot flares light up because why wouldn't I? I normally cold cast them in aluminum and then polish them up a little bit. They don't need to be super shiny. I like the slightly matte, slightly metallic look that just cold casting in aluminum gives. You can also just make them out of wood and paint them. There's nothing wrong with that. It's how most people do it. It's how sane people do it. I like making boot flares. It's stupid, but you know, hey, so am I. It's easy. It's a fun, quick project. If you have an X-Wing costume, and you should because they're very easy to make yourself some boot flares.